Hey guys, today I want to talk about a few of my favorite things to do while I'm on the go that don't involve using my phone to entertain myself. So, when I'm on the go, when I'm at work or when I'm on a train going somewhere, just on a plane or on a car or wherever I'm going, if I'm just doing something and I kind of feel some boredom, it's so typical nowadays to reach for your phone to distract you, to use that for the thing to take us away from boredom, to the point that boredom has basically become extinct. Boredom is a rare breed at this point. For me, I am trying to get away from that. And that's the whole point of this channel. And most likely, if you're watching, you're trying to get away from that too. Ultimately, that type of activity is kind of like junk food in my mind. It feels good in the moment. It's definitely enticing. But after a little while, it doesn't feel too good. You kind of feel like junk after the fact. And you wish you maybe didn't do it. So for me, I try to find better ways that I can entertain myself. And a lot of times, that has nothing to do with using a phone. Especially since I've moved to using the Cat S22 Flip, which I actually have right here with me. Ever since I started using the Cat S22 Flip, I have no access to games. It's honestly, the screen is too small to really do anything entertaining on it. You just use it for the amount that you need it and then you get out. So I find other ways to entertain myself. And a lot of times that's engaging with paper in some form. So I have three things today, paper things, old-fashioned things that I like to do here in 2024 to keep myself entertained. So let's go through a couple of those things today. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to carry around a paperback book. So it's just fun to read a paperback book. It doesn't have to be a paperback. It could also be a Kindle. I also have a Kindle right here too. Just having a book, some sort of thing that you're going to read that isn't the same device as using your phone is going to be a good way to go. Just because when you're on your phone, you can read on your phone. There's a Kindle app on your phone and you could just download a PDF and read it on your phone. You could even read an article on your phone. But I find that you're going to get pulled into that thing a lot more readily and you're going to be distracted. This book is one of my favorites. It's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig. This book's so good. It's just all about craftsmanship, the importance of quality and kind of doing something right, and doing things with your hands, doing things that you enjoy doing and doing them through and through. This is it's a really interesting read. It's kind of a tough read at times. There was moments that I had a hard time getting through this one, but it's one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I think I'm going to hold on to a copy of this for a very long time. Just carrying a book around that you can enjoy flipping around and reading, and even one that you've read before, and just returning to it to just entertain yourself with a favorite passage from that. One of my other favorite books of all time that I will always own a copy of is The Dharma Bums by Jack Kerouac. I carry a copy of this with me whenever I go away for like a couple of weeks. I just bring a copy of this book with me because this is pretty much my favorite book I've ever read. And I just love flipping through this book and just reading a chapter or reading a few pages here or there. It always brings me a lot of value and entertainment, and it gives me a lot to think about. And I feel good at the end of reading a chapter of this as opposed to looking at Instagram for like 25 minutes. So bringing a paper book with you is just a good way to go. Once again, it doesn't have to be a paper book. I do think that there is something nice about looking at a paper book as opposed to bouncing from one screen to another, even if it is on different single-use devices. I think there just is something nice about paper book. It's just fully disconnected. The battery's never going to die on you. You don't have to worry about uploading the right file. You just bring your book and you read that book and then you go. It's also nice sometimes just not having that endless choice. It's easy when you have something like a Kindle to have 1,000 texts on there, and then you end up with that kind of short attention span that we all have today, hopping around from one to the next and not really staying with one thing for very long. And I think by limiting choice, that can also be a great way to go as well. So consider bringing a paper book with you. It can be either, but a book of some kind is great. The next thing that I really like to do when I'm on the go is I like to just bring a little piece of paper, like a paper scrap or even my little notebook with me, and I'll do either some writing, just write a little journal entry or just write some notes, whatever it is. But I also just like to do some doodling as well. So I have a few of my doodles here. I'm not an artist, but I just like to doodle. This is a Volkswagen van up here. This is my old Toyota Yaris down here. And I just like to doodle for fun. It's something that I always liked to do when I was a kid. I would just make these goofy drawings, and it would just give me a good laugh. It was a great way to entertain ourselves back in those times. And, thinking back to my childhood before phones were as ubiquitous as they are now, smartphones had just come out when I was in high school. So in elementary school, they weren't even around. I got a flip phone, or like a little brick of a phone, when I was in grade 8. So I was like 13, 14. And previous to that, we didn't have technology like that on our person whatsoever. We'd go to school with our pockets empty for the most part. And you would just do things like doodling. And a good way for me to think about what to do to entertain myself now is, I think, how would I entertain myself when I was 10 years old, right? Or when I was 12 years old? How would I have entertained myself then? And funny enough, that's a good place to start. And for me, doodling is a really fun way to go. It seems childish to doodle, but to me, it's not. I think it's a great way to engage your brain. It's a great way to engage creative thinking. It's just a lot of fun. It doesn't have to even be seen as a means to an end. It's just a fun thing to do. There is this kind of idea, I think, as an adult, that you should stop doing art and creative endeavors if you're not gifted or specifically very skilled at it. I think that that's a huge mistake, because art is for everyone. Art is not just for artists who are like, high artists. It's just something to do. It's just something to do. We're creative people, and engaging with art is something that we should do at all ages and all skill levels. That's just something that I love to do, and it's a lot of fun for me. This is one that gave me a laugh that I saw when I was digging through these scraps for this video. So back in the 90s, there was an animal, like basically an eco-terrorist group. That's at least how they've been labeled. There was an animal activist group that would break into laboratories where they were doing animal testing, and they would liberate the animals from there. Cosmetic companies will test on bunnies. They'll test on rats, obviously, and mice. They'll also test on beagles as well, dogs and cats. So I made this picture here. And the big group that did all of this, this animal liberation, was called the Animal Liberation Front, ALF. So I had this idea one day, and I was just scribbling around, and I made this picture here of Alf. And he is the Animal Liberation Front, Alf. And he's busting out a little beagle here from this lab. So here we are, our animal liberator, Alf. And that's just kind of an idea of, it doesn't have to be serious, right? You're not painting the Mona Lisa here. You're not painting Starry Night. You're just doing a little bit of fun. It's just something fun. Doesn't have to be something you post. Doesn't have to be something you show anybody. That's not the intent of this. This is just something to have fun and to feel good about. So for me, just doodling, it's just a really fun thing to do. Finishing up, the last thing that I do when I'm on the go and I want to keep myself entertained is another one that I got. This one's from my grandma. It's another thing that involves paper. And she told me a story of a friend of hers who, when she was working, would always carry the New York Times crossword puzzle around with her. And when she told me that, a light bulb went off in my head. And I thought, what's to stop me from doing that? Why do we have to all use Wordle and all of these other apps to do these types of things that we can just do with a simple piece of paper folded up in our back pocket? To me, there's something romantic about that, about just, a guy with a little folded up crossword puzzle in his back pocket, and he just pulls it out and he gets his pencil out and scribbles away at that from time to time when he has a chance. So I decided I wanted to do that. So a little while ago, I bought these, which was a crossword puzzle book, a sorted crossword puzzle, and also word seeks, which I call word search puzzles, where you try to basically just find the word in this jumble of letters. And these are both really fun for me. These are obviously pretty big books, and I don't ever take the book with me. I will just pull a puzzle out. I will just take a puzzle that I want to do, and I'll rip that page out, and I'll fold it up, and I'll put it in my pocket, and I'll bring it with me. This is a great way to go. I remember having games like this, I think on that, what was that called? Brain Age, I think on Nintendo DS. And it was basically doing games like you'd find right here in the pages of these two books. And they're meant to, they existed, that game existed because those engage your brain so much. They're good for your brain to have activities like this. And I think especially nowadays where our attention spans are so eroded, our brains are so fatigued by short form content and that endless scroll of the attention economy casino, which I just recently started saying, the pull of the slot machine for the refresh of an Instagram feed. I think it's important to strengthen our brains and to do these kind of focused attention tasks and entertainment and games and things like this that are just done with you and a piece of paper, right? It's nothing else that's going to pull you away. It's just you and a piece of paper. So this is a lot of fun for me as well. This is one of my favorite things to carry around. I'll always rip a page of this out and throw it in my bag when I'm going on a trip, just so I have the option to do something like that while I'm on a plane or wherever I am. It's a lot of fun. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. Just a few ways which I think you can distract yourself a little bit better here in 2024, because there's definitely no shortage of ways to distract yourself here nowadays. You know, you can use any game on your phone, you can use social media, you can use anything on the internet that it has to offer. There's so many ways. But for me, it's just about trying to be intentional and find ways to better use your attention. So these are a few of the ways that have worked for me. I hope you guys found this interesting, and I'll see you in the next video.